our revision and fixing of problems of our first draft of writing four-part harmony for the B section of our song. Um, this will help us do a number of things. There's problems in terms of uh, parallel octaves and fifths, consecutive octaves and fifths, and hidden octaves and fifths that we need to address. And either we fix them or we accept them. This is going to help you learn how to detect these en masse, get practice at that. The other thing is, I really am trying to give you an opportunity here to use your ability to spell chords, to voice or write them using connection methods or the principles from connection methods and get work done. Many times students of music theory learn how to do all these connection methods and learn these rules for error checking, but never learn how to write a song and never learn to apply it in a comfortable and confident way. So that's what we're doing here. In both the iteration that we did of the first section of this song over here, we just used our connection methods and went for it. Got it done. Got a lot of writing in, and there were some mistakes that we addressed in a revision. Now with this four-part writing, especially since these melodies don't let us follow formulas, we're going to find lots of errors as well. But we got something in that is functional very quickly, and many of it, even if it has what we call classical errors, will be fine. Now, there's some errors in there. I've already pre-scanned and found at least 7 that we want to address, but that's errors according to these rules. Um, and it's singable, it works. Okay. And if you needed to throw that in front of a choir, it took 20 minutes to do, and it works just fine. We can improve, or we can make choices. All right. So let's just start by practicing looking for errors. Like I said, I've already identified some, but let's go through hidden perfect octaves and fifths. That is when the soprano and the bass form an octave or a fifth, perfect, and the soprano skipped into it and the bass moved in similar motion to get there. All right. So what we do is we scan the soprano for skips, and when a skip happens, we check and see if the bass and the soprano make a fifth or an octave, and if they did the bass move in the same direction? Okay. And so here we have a skip, goes to a C, this goes down to an A. This is not an octave, not a problem, or fifth, right? This goes from a C up to an F. This goes from an A up to a D. So this is also a 10th right here, so that's not a problem. We go from the F down to the G. There's a skip. The G down to the D down to the G. Now we have a skip where the soprano and the bass have made a perfect fifth. See right there, right? I know that it's bigger than a fifth. It's a 12th, but we compact it down to the small interval size of fifth. And the soprano skipped into it, and the bass moved in similar direction. This is a hidden or direct perfect fifth. That's why I've got a number 1 there. We'll address it. Let's keep going. The soprano skips up to a G, right? The bass skips up to a C. This is a fifth. The soprano skipped into it. The bass is moving in the same direction. However, it's not similar motion. It's parallel motion because they were already in a fifth and they move the exact same amount. Similar and parallel means they move in the same direction. Parallel means that it moved the exact same amount, and similar means they moved in the same direction but different amounts. This is parallel perfect fifths, which is also a potential problem, marked with number 2. We go from here. This skips down from there, from the C to the E, and from the C, or so the G to the E, and the C to the A, and we have another parallel fifths right there. Again, the soprano skips into it, it's a fifth. It could be hidden fifth, but because the bass is not just moving in the same direction, but perfectly the same amount, it's parallel fifths. So we've got them this way and we've got them that way. Okay. And then from here to here, the E skips up to an A, and the A skips. So it looks like we've got these parallel fifths constantly like that right there. Okay. Again, it skips, skips, makes a fifth. This could have been a candidate for hidden or direct octaves, but because they're moving the exact same amount, they're not similar motion, it's parallel motion. This is what we call parallel perfect fifths. So we have a, hidden fifth right here and three parallel fifths right there. Getting from across the page here at the end of the line down to here, there's another problem. If you look, or maybe there's not, maybe there is, here it is right here. The soprano skips up, right, and forms a fifth with the bass, C and F, but the bass is moving in opposite direction, so that's not a problem right there. However, we can check here, and you see this G in the bass and the D in the altos, they both step down, and that's a fifth right there and a fifth right there. Okay, so that's parallel fifths in the alto and the bass. And then this all looks fine. We can check it here. No skip, no skip, no skip. Skip right there, right? And then this skips in the opposite direction, so it can't be a problem that way. This is also a root and a third, so there's no fifth type go on there or doubled note, right? Here's a problem right here that we found where the soprano skips up to the F, the bass moves to a D, which makes a, no, maybe I lied here. It's not soprano, that's fine. But we have tenor and bass in a fifth right there, moving to a fifth right there. And then here, it's not a voice leading problem, but when I listen to this, I don't like the chord that I chose, and we're going to change that. I knew that as soon as I wrote it, but I wanted to leave it there to show you that we can even revise harmonies and things as well as voice writing. Let's deal with each one of these now. Our choices are change the melody or change one of the voices that has, the parallel fifth or whatever in it. You can do nothing is another one, and there's other alterations. You could revoice the whole thing. I'm not particularly keen on changing the melody. I think the melody is what we want, so then it comes to changing other notes. Let's take a look right here. The soprano skips down into the D, right? The bass skips down into the G. They're moving in similar motion, same direction, but not the same amount. This forms a fifth right here, and that's a problem. Now, I'm going to show you the solution, and then we're going to make a judgment on whether we want to keep that or not, okay? Some solutions are, don't go to the G, assuming that the melody is set. Don't go to the G down here, which means that we are inverting the chord, like putting it to a B instead, right? So it's a 1-6. Let's try that and see what that looks like and play it. And I can tell you right now that I'm not going to like the sound because of two reasons, but here we go. So root position is stronger, but more than that, if we put it to the B, we don't have a G in the chord when it first hits there, and that sounds weird. So let's go and try and fix that. Let's take our tenor and bring them to the G, and now we're going to do a local voice exchange right there and see how that sounds. That's not bad. Right? So that's a solution. If this were a slower piece of music, that's very possible and it would be fine. Another solution is to use a non-chord tone in that spot there to delay getting to the G and that kind of thing. Yeah. So those are our options right there. I honestly don't like either of them, but that would have been our choices. Just because for me, this has a nice sort of root. It's not classical choral sounding. It's a little more folk popish, but So our choices are go to first inversion right there, and then maybe bring this down to the G, the tenor down to the G, or you could have a delay of some kind of non-chord tone right here before we get to the G, instead. And honestly, my choice is I like the sound of this better than the other ones. So number one is going to be denied. I think we're just going to leave it the same. The smoothness of these lines here with the alto and the tenor like that work for me enough. It's not, I know this is jumping into there, but it's a pre-existing sound. It works. I guess my solution to this is, after trying the different ways to fix that part writing problem, I like this better. So then there's one last option that, I guess I like it in root position better. And I think this is the acceptable change right here. I'm going to go in here, and instead I'm just going to octave shift these guys to right there, like this. You can do this when you have hidden or direct octaves or fifths. It doesn't work with parallels. Okay, so now we've gone from a tenth in the outside voice here, skipping down into a fifth, right? But the bass is going in the opposite direction. It's very singable. Seems to work fine. Okay, so I tried changing inversion, changing the way that the notes are arranged. I didn't like that. I still like the blockish sort of root position things. In another piece that might be different. My way of solving this problem is to just shift this up the octave, which then breaks one of the tenets of hidden or direct octaves and fifths, which is soprano skips into a fifth with the bass. Bass moves in similar motion. Now it's moving in contrary or opposite motion. So for that, then I'm going to get rid of you. It's going to renumber all these, but that's okay. All right. Here we have a fifth right there, and this is a fifth, and this is a fifth. It used to come from below and be parallel. Now it's contrary motion. Again, we have to ask ourselves, is there a way to fix this? Assuming we don't want to change the melody, then inversion is the first way we look at usually fixing these notes, right? Because of the style of this song and the way it moves at a lively pace, I am going to probably favor like blocks of lines that are smooth rather than something that's like moving around too much, but who knows? So by doing this, coming down to the third of the chord, right, it breaks the parallel or consecutive fifths, and then we reverse down at that point. So, right? So that's possible. If I were going to do this, I might consider arpeggiating all the way through the chord like this. Right? That's another possibility. And I honestly don't know which one I like better. I like the simplicity of 3 per line being the same. On the other hand, this is the second time through the same chord progression as the beginning, although the line has risen. So maybe this is better? I don't know. It's a stylistic choice at this point. This gets rid of my consecutive fifths, doing it this way. Now I have to decide if I just want to not draw attention to itself and have this arpeggiating line by keeping it the same and accepting that I have those consecutive fifths and just keep going on, or not. I like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go save as. And I'm just going to go connection method. I'm just going to give myself like a part 2, first iteration. I'm just going to call this second iteration alt, right? Like, honorable mentions 1. So things that I can remember, okay? If I really wanted to, I could just take this whole thing right here and just drop it right here for me to remember for later, okay? It's probably the better way to do this. For right now, I don't like that. I'm going to keep it the same in the future. Well, I'm going to explore it, but I think I'm going to go back, is what I mean, to this, right? So here we have octaves going to a fifth. So this whole arpeggiation thing fixes that right there. This used to be a C, and then we had fifths going to another fifth. This fixes not only this problem here, but that problem right there. Okay, so I'm going to call these fixed for right now. I'm just going to say though, when I get done, I'm going to evaluate the overall sound, and if the parallel fifths and octaves and things like that are a better sound to me, I'm still going to go back there. All right, but for right now, let's say that we solve this problem right here from a part writing point of view. Okay. Okay. So here we have a fifth going to a fifth, right? Okay. So my solution would be to look at here for the solution and match these things, right? And I'm not going to jump up to the third of the chord from here. I'm not going to go, well, maybe I will. Bum, 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 bum. So I could do that right there. Let's just see what that sounds like, right? I think it'll be okay. The problem with this is that we end up with no root at the beginning. And we'll have to, if we do it this way, so it won't feel quite like the chord we want maybe, but it might be fine because right next we get that. We'll see. Just that through here the D presence is not very strong now, right? It's not bad. You know, that's a possibility. I might, if I was going to do that, then I would probably put these guys down here, like that. And voice exchange these two, right? So that you can, feels like a D minor chord now. So that can work. That's fine. Also, I could go in the other direction with these as well. I could start like here. Dun 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 dun. Right? And then I could end up like maybe there. Like that. Could try it that way. I think I'd still leave this on the D so we have a D right there in the chord. Root and third. Nope, don't like it as much. And these are aesthetic choices. You have to decide on your own if you're writing without assistance or as a class that you do that. But I don't mind the da 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 dee da 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 da. Right? That's okay. Dee da 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 da. Could go there. It does double the tendency tone right there. Still might be worth it. Let's see what happens if because I like the dee da da da, dee da da da. So we will briefly have doubled that, but then we will have stopped doubling. Da dee da. I can't go down to the G right there because we have that right there. If I went down to the G after that, I would I'd have to do this, and then I'd probably have to change my melody, which I've been thinking about for right here. Da 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 da, as opposed to da 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 da. I think half the time people are going to sing that way anyways. That seems acceptable to me, right? That's pretty fine. So I don't have a problem with that. We're just gonna, so I think what's gonna happen here in the end is that we're gonna end up with this iteration, and in the end, afterwards, off video, I'm gonna compare it against leaving the mistakes in, and because we're radically changing the texture by having a moving base like this now, right, to fix these things. And maybe I don't want that, and I'm happier with the problems. Some we've solved, some of them we haven't. We'll see. Like I might just be okay with this being a G, like double G's, right? Like there's a parallel octave we made there, right? No, we'll see. Okay, moving on. Here, across from here to here, we have the D coming down and the G coming down to make parallel fifths in the right there. And I think the easiest thing to do here is just to follow our formula, which is if the bass steps, everything moves opposite the bass instead of what we did, which was parallel a lot. So that would mean that these guys would not come down. They'd go up to the C, right? We can choose to have them come down after, but to begin with, you know, we would do something like this, right? And this is a little trickier to do across. Maybe I'll go to this view right there. All right. Sorry, I'm changing view so that we can hear it without crossing over the edge of the page because we won't hear that connection. Let me just get there real quick. Controls are being a little buggy. All right, here we are, right here. Oh, one more measure. All right, so. All right. I really don't like going down to the D right there. It breaks the line. Feels worse to me. Right, I think I'm just gonna leave it the way it was. I think that's better. Yeah. All right, I think we're just gonna leave it as it was. It's fine. In that case, I'm just like preemptively just saying I like the sound better the other way, and I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay. Yeah. So then there's a couple reasons for that, and I'll try and explain that in a minute, but let me get through all these errors. So I'm just gonna say it's fine. I got parallel fifths in there, but I'm not that concerned. It sounds better than the alternative for me, and I'm certainly not gonna invert here, I don't think. I don't actually like a lot of these inversions. They're solutions, but they don't give me the sound that I want, okay? So I guess what I'm saying is we're going to learn to fix these things and find them and stuff, and then we always have to make a judgment. You can't just say it followed the rules, therefore it's better. You have to decide what the sound is. Okay, so nice. All right, good. And now we have this parallel octave right there, or parallel fifth, sorry, in the alto there, in the bass, and there and there. So this is really, you know. So the solution is to bring this down to the F, your tenors down to the F, and your altos down to the A, and then you'll have parallel motion against that, and it should be like that. That works better. I'll show you what that looks like. and then I'm also likely to reject it, just letting you know. Okay, so we could do this like that, and then we can bring this guy down to here as well. Oops. Layers. And then that guy down to there, like that. Okay. So, you know, we'd leave these down here, I think, like that. We could do that. Let's continue and do all of them like that. And I think it's probably fine. Let's get these guys out of the way. You have the advantage of having the altos never bumping into the sopranos. So it gets rid of that. I mean, if you really wanted to preempt that, you could even build these back further so that the bass or the tenor line's on the E, just coming down like that. And then, but then you get parallels there. That's not what we want. That's why we did this. We could preemptively bring, you know, this guy down to the G there, like that. So, I don't know. The thing is that the more we fiddle with our lines, the more varied they get, and I feel like it's drawing a lot of attention to itself and destroying the strength of the line, but that's a fix right there. So we did bass step and we did the other voices opposite the bass, like our formula. Again, I kind of like it the other way. We'll see how it goes. And then here I just want to explain that, you know, like I went to unison here. When I get to here and I listen to this chord here, B half diminished 7 is the 7 chord in this key. And it's just like a G7, except you're subbing the 7th, the A, up for that G that's there. So this. And it just feels a little cloudy, and I think a G7 chord is probably just what we want here instead. So if I change this up and make it a G7, right? Then, or a G into a G7, I guess. Then your tenor line will magically stay on the G's, which is fine. And then here, same thing. And I just feel like it gives it a cleaner sound. And all throughout this piece here, it feels like it has a robust, clean, active. Right? It's pretty good. And this sets us up for going back. This D will come down to the C because we're going back to the beginning of the piece at this point. This F will come down to the E, the G will stay there, and the B will step up. And I think you know, the only thing I might do differently here is I might stick this bass line back down on the G just because it feels a little stronger, I think, when you have the root position chord. Get rid of these notes and place it down on a G. All right, let's try it again. Yeah. Kind of feel like maybe this will just be better if it's G's the whole time, because it, you know, it doesn't feel chord changey. It feels like we're hammering home the fact we're on the dominant, the whole time. Yeah, I think it's just better that way. All right. So chord changed, voicing fixed, root position stronger. Like I said before, this gets to be a thin texture, so I don't care about these multiple parallel octaves. We're in unison here. These are not. We go to 3 parts right here from right there, right? And then unisons, 3 parts, and then like 3 parts still, right? And then, or 2 actually, maybe. And then unison part starting to split away. Back to 4 parts, and we're pedaling out the G. And then we're back to the beginning, which I think I like. All right. So let me say a couple things about this. I've already made my decisions on me personally. We found a bunch of mistakes, and we fixed them through inversion, through voice exchange, through changing octaves and things like that. Um, and in the end, I feel like these very clever would work better at a slow tempo. Like they'd be really great at a slower tempo. But because this is clipping along, yan dun 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 yan dun 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 dun, I feel like at least this first time through the bridge, we would keep it simple. So that being said, I like putting the G up here the first time. It fixes the hidden fifth that we had, right? But I'm not so certain I like all this stuff this time. Um, in truth, we might use it for the 3 part or even for the duets and things like that, because every time we listen to it, you say, well, what's the point of listening to it again? And it's because we're presenting new lyrics or the music in a new way or something like that, or the textures change from 2 to 3 to 4 voices. And so presuming that we have a repeat, maybe like this, depending on our lyrics, might go da 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 da, or it might repeat this twice before we go on there. So right now we're still in the working it out stage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the work that we've done in a separate file, and I think this change here, the chord change and the revoicing will keep. I'm going to make a final decision on how many of these other changes we want, but for a first go around for this song, we found some errors and we fixed them, and the fix for me is maybe destroying the core sound of the piece, and so we might just accept those problems. Now, let's get back to the school aspect. Obviously, you need to know how to find these issues and fix them with alternative ways of writing. But that'll be in short exercises and tests and things like that, and that's good. But they're not the rule or the law that you have to follow. You have to write music that sounds the way you want it to write, and in this case, there's a integral sound about this moving around in little blocks like this that I really like at this tempo. It's got a solidarity, and if we're going to do jumping around like this, that might come in other iterations, like a second time or a different time through, not a repeat, but like an actual different time through or in a different texture or something like that. And that's what the next writing assignments will let us explore, different textures the last time we have this sort of duet that goes with each other like that. Yeah. So, and then, we're working stuff out with sort of faith that we'll be able to take the best of what we've done that makes the most sense and then fashion it into a piece of music. So I hope this was useful for you, both to see that I was able to make quick writing of the first iteration, find mistakes, make choices on how and where to fix them, and that got me to a next stage. There's one more layer of this, which is where I'll go back and make a final decision on which of these lines, but I can already tell you it's going to be root positions, and so if we have some parallel fifths and things, it's fine, I think. Remember also that when you have iterations of yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, they feel like little mini phrases that don't need to connect too much to each other. We're probably still going to end up with a parallel fifth in here or something like that, or octave, but I think every two measures it has a little mini phrase kind of thing. And so even the lack of texture connecting through these two measures to the next ones will undercut any sense of jarringness from having parallel fifths or something. So, all right. There'll be a new file with this updated for you to have, and then you'll work on 3 parts in the next assignment coming up.